Hey guys, it's See You Dad, and we're gonna do a little different video today than what I would normally be doing, but this is a video someone actually requested I made in a comment section a few days ago. So I figured, you know what, let's just do another little one-off video, see how this is. So anyways, a few days ago, or maybe a few weeks ago at this point, I made a video about, just kind of like a quick minute-and-a-half video on how I made the Ebon Hawk in Starfield, and that's what you're looking at here. I'm really proud of it. I like the way it turned out. And anyways, I posted that video, and someone left in the comments asking me if I could do a video, kind of a step-by-step on how I made the ship. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you I'm not going to do that exactly. I'm going to kind of give you a basic overview of how I made it, as well as some like shipbuilding techniques. But yeah, we're just kind of do something a little different, laid back, and let me show you all around. I went ahead and switched in the first person view, so this is where I actually come up inside the ship, but I'll kind of briefly walk y'all around. I've got a little viewport here where you could look out into space. There's the cockpit. Let's go in there. This is kind of like the main hallway area that leads into the cockpit. I like the way that this particular cockpit has this kind of sideways design, and that was kind of I kept it that way intentionally because of the way the Ebon Hawk looks. But here's the cockpit, the viewport. I like it. And then the rest of the ship, you kind of saw where I came in. I've got this area that's for workbenches and stuff like that. Inside here is the captain's quarter. I would recommend you have one of these on your ship. I'll talk about that in a second. On the other side, I put like a little armory area, so it's got a lot of weapons and gear, some stuff in a display case, a whole bunch of guns and stuff on the walls. In a second, I'm going to have to take this stuff off because of, well, I'll get into that in just a second. But yeah, that's the interior of the ship, and again, I like the way it turned out. I'll get into the specifics of building it in just a second, but just kind of give you an external look at it. If I can go into photo mode here, disable that, and yeah, kind of get a good little 360-degree look at what the ship looks like from the outside. I'm going to back up a little bit and throw up a picture of what the actual Ebon Hawk looks like on the side of the screen here, so you can kind of get like a direct comparison between the two. You might see a few things that stand out, some similarities between them. From an overview perspective, you'll see here on this half of the ship kind of juts out a little bit more, whereas here that area is not there. On the right hand side, it's more of a gap. You can go straight through there, as opposed to here is the boarding ramp, which is where the boarding ramp is on the actual ship. You can see on the sides the way that I kind of get a little bit of the curvature in the back. It's not perfect, and I'll go into some of that in just a second. But you can kind of see how it rounds in the back, but on the sides it is it's straight. It goes up front, and then it kind of gets abruptly cut off. I also included these little, there's kind of these little side dorsal fins on the Ebon Hawk. I tried to recreate that the best I could here. I know in the actual thing they extend to the end of the ship, and that's kind of sort of what these missile launchers are supposed to stand in for. But again, that's not perfect. Another thing is how the engines, I had to put way more engines on this thing than there actually are. And again, there's reasons for that. We're going to get into it in just a second. But yeah, there's kind of your overview from the outside of the ship, and you saw a little bit of the inside. So let's get into a little bit of the specifics with ship making, and specifically how to create the Ebon Hawk, but honestly more how to create any ship that you want to make. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, and we're going to talk about this, Starfield's customization is not perfect, but there's a lot to it. There's a lot of possibility, and you kind of have to get creative with what you want to make. Now, this is kind of going to be a guide for both people who have played the game and are a little familiar with this, but also people who maybe are just starting out for the first time, or they don't know anything about Starfield and how shipbuilding works. I'm going to slightly walk you through the process and then demonstrate it with the Hawk. So anytime you want to change your ship, buy a new ship, edit the one you have, you gotta find these guys. You're kind of like the spaceport, yeah, ship services technician is what they're called. There is one of these guys at pretty much every single hangar or spaceport you go to. I'm here on Aquila, which is a really good city, and I'm going to talk about that too in a second. But he's in this little building. Some of them, like I think the one on New Atlantis, he's like right there as soon as you step off the ship. I can't remember the one on, I don't know if there is. I know there's one on Neo. I just haven't found him. But anyways, you're going to want to go up and talk to them.
Inspect your ship for heat leeches
Yeah, I know. Can I talk to you? There. I can focus on the chair, but not him. I forgot I'm playing a Bethesda game. There we go. Okay, so you talk to him.
Anything I can help you with?
You can repair your ship, see what ships you have for sale. I'm going to view and modify my ships.
Sure.
So
How about it?
when I press that, it'll pop up a menu. It has all my ships. There's the Ebon Hawk. But also, like, there's the Frontier, which is the first ship you get in the game. It's like your home ship, your original ship. And here's another one that I grabbed it. This is the first ship I kind of made myself, and by made I mean I stole it from some pirates and then I like added a bunch of crap onto it. I like it. I'm proud of it. I named it the Fafnir's Fate because I think it's cool. And you saw how this one's called the Frontier. And you'll notice this ship is not called the Ebon Hawk. That's because of another glitch where for some reason this ship, it will not let me change its name. So, like, look, I know some people are saying, oh, Starfield is running perfectly for me. I haven't run into any glitches or anything yet. Don't get me wrong, the game plays great, and I've been having a very fun time with it, but there are still little bugs and stuff like this that are hopefully going to get patched out one day. Now, before you start editing your ship and talking to that spaceport merchant like you just saw, one thing I'm going to tell you, I don't know if it's a glitch. Well, I know one thing is a glitch, the other thing is a feature, and I'm not crazy about this feature. But I would just say to be safe, to play it safe, if you're going to edit and change your ship in any way, anything as grand as adding like a new rooms, doubling the size of the ship, or anything as small as just changing what one room is, or adding a single gun or cannon, I would recommend anything that you've got in a chest or lying around loose. But especially anything on these mannequins, go ahead, grab that stuff, and put it in your inventory, because there is a slight possibility you might lose it all when you're editing the ship. Now, the reason for that is because the way that this game works, anytime that you edit or change your ship or go into the ship builder, ship upgrader, anything like that, what it does is any loose item, anything that's in your ship that's not like bolted to the floor is going to go straight into your ship's cargo bay. Most of it, and most everything, that's where it'll go. Like, for example, here, just to add a little bit of like kind of flavor to my ship, I put a knife, my deputy badge, and then this pistol. I don't use them, but I thought they'd kind of look cool for being like a, like a space cowboy's desk. I leave them here. But whenever I edit the ship, these items are going to disappear and they're going to end up in my cargo bay. The same thing for all of this stuff in this crate that I have here, which is I mainly keep all my different outfits. Remember, in any video game, the most important thing, have decent drip. But yeah, all that stuff gets taken out and thrown into your cargo hold, which you can access from the front of your ship here. So you don't lose it, it all goes in here, but you will have to get it back out and put it back where you want it to go. Like, think back to that weapon room, all of those weapons. I have a bunch of guns that I don't use, it's all there for decoration, but they're going to be, I'm going to have to put them all back if I edit my ship. It's kind of aggravating, but I can understand why they did it. The real thing is, though, remember those mannequins? The mannequins, I had a spacesuit on this one in particular. What I have found, anything that I were to leave on this mannequin, like if I put my, this particular spacesuit, if I added that to the mannequin, it's not showing up there yet, but it is in the mannequin's inventory. If I left that there, and then I edited the ship, because I've had this happen with a few other articles of clothing, and even a few weapons. I put them on the mannequin, I edited the ship, I came back, the items were gone. They had despawned, they were not added to the cargo hold, they were not added to my inventory, they were just missing. So just be careful, be aware of anything like that that may happen. But I've talked long enough, let's actually get into how to build a ship and how to make the Ebon Hawk. So yeah, this is where the magic happens. This is where you put your pieces together, you make your ship, you get each individual piece. Like, let me grab this piece, move it away, and you see it interlocks with the other pieces. It's almost like Legos, in a way. As far as, you got your pieces, some of them, you gotta see what fits with other pieces, what you can stick together, what you cannot stick together. Now, there's two ways you go about editing a ship. The first is to kind of find a ship, reverse engineer it, and like add parts to it. Like if this were the ship I found, I could take it apart, then build off of it, and then use the pieces that I already have. Or you could just completely obliterate the ship, take it apart piece by piece, and start from scratch. Which you could select all, and then I want to make I do have a save state in case I did lose this ship. So there, I deleted it, and I could start completely from scratch. But don't worry. Oh, thank goodness! I was kind of worried if I could undo that or not. But yeah, so I can go back and get my entire ship back if I wanted it to. But yeah, so you see we have nothing here, and you might notice in the bottom right-hand corner you'll see 8 errors. In order to see what those errors are, you'd hit the start button, which is your flight check menu. When you press this tells you everything that is wrong with your ship, or with the ship you currently have built. All the things in red, you have to address every issue in red. If an issue is in orange or like that yellow, it's not a necessity to fix it, but it is just something you need to be aware of that might be a downside. Like you'll see there, we're missing a cockpit, a docker, an engine, a grav drive, reactor. We don't have a fuel tank. We don't have a grab jump thrust. But then the thing that's not as important, our ship doesn't have a shield. Obviously you need those for protecting your ship, but you don't necessarily need one. So anyways, and there's a lot of other errors, like if there'll be an error if like your ship isn't fully connected, like if you have 2 pieces, like if I put that there and then another piece, they're not connected, so a new error, unattached modules, so on and so forth. So the basics whenever it comes to shipbuilding is, like you saw, you need to hit the minimum requirement for your ship. And we're just going to briefly go through that. So the things you're going to need is we need, a landing bay. So I'll put that there. We need a cockpit. We're going to use that cockpit. I've actually never seen that cockpit before. Maybe I'm unlocking new ship parts. We need engines. We need a fuel tank. Fuel tank. What else do we need? Landing gear. I'll get to that in a second. We need something to, we need the part of the ship we actually walk through. And that's where this comes in, which are habs, or habitats. This is the actual parts of the ship you can walk through. So like if I put this part down here, this is like a 1x3 area, kind of like that hallway inside the Ebon Hawk I showed you. But you could take your cockpit, attach it there. Now we have a cockpit attached to the interior of the ship. We could walk inside this area and walk to the cockpit and fly around. But we also need our landing gear. I kind of want to put this landing gear underneath the part of the ship we have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this, and you can actually raise and lower on the axis where you want your part of the ship to be. And that kind of makes it a little easier when connecting things. So I'm going to put that there, take the engines, and I'll put them underneath. We need fuel for the engine, so let's kind of strap that to the side. You'll see the pieces kind of auto-connect to where they need to go. What else do we need to get a basic ship? But anyways, yeah, that kind of gets across the basic idea of the essentials for shipbuilding. Obviously, we don't have like the gravity drive and the reactor, which is how you get like power to your ship and how you can make what are essentially hyperspace jumps. But I think you get the idea. You connect the pieces, but this part and then the cockpit are the only things you can walk through. Now, obviously, that is a very ugly looking ship, and you can add, but thankfully you can add to it. If you get something here, the structures section, this is a whole bunch of stuff you could add to your ship to, you know, give it some shape. Like if I maybe wanted another little area on the top here, or let's say I wanted to add some wings, I'll get that. Yeah, I couldn't walk through those areas, but it kind of gives a little more detail and shape to my ship. Or maybe I want it to be more rounded out on the top, and so I could make it look... That's not what I want to do. Make it look like that. Or let's add some side detail. So I'll take this, throw that there, duplicate it. I thought you could duplicate with the Y button. Is how you... Oh well. But let's... Oh, it's because... Oh, I see how it is. Okay. But like, let's say I add this, and I want to add another piece to the other side. So yeah, that's like, you know, a very basic looking ship, but I can kind of shape it out the way I want it to be. Obviously, again, it has its errors still. It's not... doesn't have everything it needs, but you guys get the idea. So let's go all the way back to the Ebon Hawk and go from there. So yeah, here it is, the Ebon Hawk, and just to give you guys an idea of how much work it can potentially take to make a ship like this, I spent about 2 hours putting this thing together, which was a lot of time. And then at the end of all that, like, let's be honest, it's not the most accurate looking ship. Like, that's not a one-to-one recreation of the Ebon Hawk. Just some things right offhand that I see that are wrong. One of the biggest things, I think the ship is too wide. Like, I don't think the ship was, proportion-wise, was that wide. Obviously in the back, it doesn't make that perfect half circle. I have to have these engines here, these landing gears to kind of fill it out. So you still get the basic outline and shape, but it's not a perfect recreation of the ship. And in my opinion, that's fine. As long as I think the biggest, most important thing to remember with these Starfield ships, if you can get something that has the same general essence of whatever you're trying to make, that's what is most important. This is not a perfect recreation of the Ebon Hawk. What it is I think a good translation of aspects of the Ebon Hawk. The boarding ramp being there, the uneven symmetry, the cockpit jutting out with the wings on the side, the general kind of curvature in the back of the ship. You see what I'm saying? It's not a perfect recreation, but you can look at that and look at the Ebon Hawk side by side and say, oh, those are very similar looking ships. Now, getting into the general shape and design of the ships, I'm going to kind of peel it away to the bare minimum to show y'all what parts of the ship are actually walkable and what you're dealing with. So the first thing, I'm going to cut off this top section of the ship here. If I move that off to the side. So this is all cosmetic. Like I was talking about adding pieces, none of this is walkable, but it's just something I added to the ship to where, you know, it gives it some more shape, it fills it out. As far as the actual parts of the ship that are walkable, this is the main hallway. There's rooms going off to the side. This is where the armory is you saw before. This is the captain's quarters. And this part right here above the landing gear, that's that habitat where I was like, had the workbenches and stuff. So you kind of see, if you really were to strip the ship down to the parts that are walkable, it would look like this. So yeah, that right there is kind of the Ebon Hawk broken into its individual pieces. There's still some things here, like this is the Alpha Grav Drive. This is what lets you, like I said, jump the hyperspeed. This is the reactor that gives power to the ship. These things are cargo holds, and that's how you can actually like store stuff on your ship. And then I still kept some of the engines, the landing platform, or landing gear. But you get an idea, that's what the ship actually looks like as far as the walkable pieces. But it's all this stuff when put together that makes it, you know, the actual full completed ship. Now, even with all of that done, what if I told you this is still not a perfect ship? This is not up to standard for Starfield. Because you see, I still have a warning in my flight check. It's not an issue that like stops me from flying, but it is a issue nonetheless. You see low mobility, reduce your mass or add engines to improve mobility. What they're pretty much saying is that this ship is too big and there's not enough engines on it to where it can maneuver well. They say it's going to be slow, it's going to be hard to control, all that fun stuff. I'll tell you though, I haven't had that issue with this ship in particular. I've got 4 engines strapped to it, and even though the mobility may not be, I think, the greatest, I don't notice anything wrong with it. I think it flies just fine. But anyways, let's go over last few details, and then I'll get into kind of flying the ship and showing you a little bit more about it. Some more aspects from this ship itself I included. On the side here, on the actual Ebon Hawk, you've got these gun turrets that are on the side of the ship and also underneath the front. So here I put my auto cannon and then a laser cannon. That's the other thing, there's different types of weapons in Starfield. And then on the bottom, oh, I haven't added it. Let me go ahead and add that. I'll go to the weapons. I guess I'll also talk briefly about weapons here. So, actually I'll just copy one of the ones I have. So there's different types of weapons. The main ones though are going to be like ballistics, lasers, and missiles. So I'll take this autocannon. So this fires like actual bullets, and I'll just put it underneath the ship there, because there is like that autocannon on the bottom of the Ebon Hawk that comes out in some of the sections of the game. I think in Knights of the Old Republic 2. But yeah, I'll keep that there. And so if I were to press the trigger, all 3 of those cannons would fire. That's pressing the right trigger. On the left trigger is these lasers, which are better for like reducing shields. Normal cannons and bullets are good for like destroying the hull. And then there's missiles, which are good for both, and those are assigned to the Y button. You'd go over here in weapons and you could assign what buttons do what. It seems really complicated at first. It's not that hard whenever you get into it. Another thing about these is this thing, a docker. This is how you would actually board other enemy ships. Hopefully I can show you that in just a second. We'll see. But you need to have one of these so you can actually like dock onto enemy ships or also like friendly space stations. I've got mine on the top of the ship. You can try to put it on the side or something if you wanted to, or on the front of your ship. But that's another thing where like it has to be... Again, Starfield, it's really cool that you can make something like this, but there's also these little tiny rules that can stop you and kind of mess you up if you don't do it perfectly. And the last thing, if you press flight check, you can press the X button here to rename your ship. So I'm going to try renaming it again to the Ebon Hawk. But again, there's a glitch that no matter how many times I do this, it won't save it. Not the Hajj. So I can do that, confirm it, but then whenever I leave, yes, even with the warnings, I still want to fly it. It's still called the Crimson Fleet Captain. But that's fine, that's not the biggest deal in the world. So yeah, that's the basics of actually like making the ship and creating it the way you want it to be. Maybe that wasn't the best guide, and again, it's not a step, I didn't give you a step-by-step instructions on how to make the Ebon Hawk, although you probably could kind of get a good idea from whenever I like, you know, took it apart piece by piece, the main aspects that go into it. But again, the main things you want to remember is you want to have enough engines, and these are fuel tanks on the bottom of the ship and landing gear. That's the other thing. I kind of incorporated like the gravity drive. I made that like a part of the hull. I had this big open space in the middle, and that's where I put engines as well as more cargo holds. Where, you know, they're still attached to the ship. And of course, the main cargo holds. You can't walk through them, but it helps fill out the ship without them being, like, you know, obnoxiously strapped to the back or to the side, and you've got something that doesn't actually resemble what the Hawk looks like. But yeah, now you have an actual idea of what it looks like to build a ship in Starfield. And real quick, again, I'm going to show you if I go back to the captain's cabin here. See, there's the gun is gone, the badge is gone, my clothes and stuff are gone. But if I run to the storage compartment in the front of the ship, also all these doors are gonna, close again. But if I go to the front of the ship here, then you could go to the captain's quarters, and sorry, not the cargo hold. And if I look, there's my knife, there's the gun that I had on the counter, there's my badge as a Freestar Deputy Ranger. By the way, I highly recommend you become a Freestar Ranger because space cowboys are great even if they are a government psyop. But the other thing is, it's an easy way to make money. Anyways, now before we go, the last thing I want to show you is actually a good way to make some decent money, as well as how to actually get a ship of your own if you wanted to, instead of building one from scratch, or if you just wanted to have an extra ship lying around that you could either sell or build off of. This is how you would go about getting it. So let's take off, and I'll show y'all how to do that. Now, at least for me, what I found the best thing to do in order... Actually, it might be the only way to steal a ship beyond, actually just finding one or getting one from a quest, is you need to go to your skills and go over here to the tech section, and you'll see this targeting control systems. This unlocks ship targeting functionality. And what that means is you can target a specific part of a ship instead of the ship as a whole. And I'll tell you why that's important in just a second. Now, what I just traveled to here is a mission where I had to take out this pirate captain. This is a part of the Freestar Rangers. You can kind of do these essentially kind of bounty hunting quests to hunt these ships down. You can also do the same. There's things just normal bounty hunting you can do without the Freestar Rangers. But as you see on the bottom, I'm locking onto the ship, and if I press X, you can see here I can target the individual systems. I'm going to target engines and shoot at the engines, and my goal is to disable them, because if you disable a ship's engines, you can actually board the ship. Wow, perfect. I was kind of worried I might destroy it first. But now you get close, you can dock, and this is where, like I said, the little docking port comes into play. So I'm now docking on their ship, and I can go on there, and the next step is kind of killing everyone on board, all the pirates, so that I can take the ship for myself. So let's do that real quick. I'm hoping to make an actual Starfield video at some point, but for now you're just gonna have to settle for this. Whip out my pistol, because this is the highest damaging weapon I have. So if I go into the cockpit here, they're dead. Is there anyone else on board? No, I think that was it. But yeah, now you see, here's the inside of their ship. So you see they don't have, the extracurriculars, or that's not the right word, extra pieces of the ship. I don't know what I'm saying. But, again, long hallway, the cockpit. And again, this specific cockpit, why I like it is this little kind of juts out to the side to go in, which is kind of reminiscent of the way the actual Ebon cockpit is. Maybe I'll put up a clip on screen to kind of show you what I'm talking about. But yeah, now that I've taken out these space pirates and have looted their bodies, I could also come over here and see if there's anything from their cargo hold I want. There's also a captain's locker, which usually will have some slightly better stuff. This is a super low-level ship, so it's not worth it, but I could now take this ship, and if I brought it into port, I could sell it, I could do kind of whatever I want with it. So, if I'm here, let's undock. And now you'll see, yeah, I'm flying their ship, and the Ebon Hawk is kind of just floating there. I can't move right now because I did destroy their engine, so I gotta wait for those to come back online. But yeah, I could take this ship and either bring it into port and register it and sell it, or I could use the pieces of this ship to make another ship for myself. Maybe I want to make the Millennium Falcon. Maybe I want to make an X-Wing. I would really like to make like a Star Destroyer or something Star Destroyer-esque at some point, but I don't know when I'll be able to do that. But yeah, and the last thing with starship building is it does get very, very expensive very quickly. Like the Ebon Hawk here, it cost me about, I would say, anywhere from 50k to 60k credits just to get a ship that looks like that. And again, it's not a perfect recreation of the Ebon Hawk. Sorry, it's upside down, so I wanted to kind of reorient myself. But yeah, so it does get very pricey. However, at least for me, I found it's fairly easy to get credits in Starfield. Like, most missions are going to pay out anything from 2,000 to 55,000, even 6,000 credits at a time. So if you just sit somewhere, grind out some missions, probably over the course of like 1 2-hour play session, you would have enough credits to kind of make your own ship. And like right now, I literally have 1,200, 120,000, man, I can't speak today. I have 121,000 credits right now. So like I have enough where I could make another Ebon Hawk if I really wanted to. So yeah, that's kind of going to do it. We're going to start wrapping up here. To the guy who left the comment on the first video asking me like for a video on how I made this, I hope this was good enough for you. I know you probably would have preferred like a real step-by-step thing, but again, it took me several hours to make, and I think what's better is instead of copying my design, which you absolutely can, like I think you got the general idea if you wanted to make this yourself, but you know, do your own thing. Make your own version of the Ebon Hawk. In fact, if you do, and if you like post videos to YouTube, I would love to see what you created. So do that. Leave a comment on this one if you're going to do that. But yeah, I hope that kind of helps you guys out, gives you an idea of how to build a ship in Starfield. I'm going to destroy this one just because why not? Why not? To show you what I'm capable of, or the ship is capable of. But yeah, guys, that is gonna do it. Again, hopefully this gave you a little bit of understanding of how shipbuilding works, how you can make your own ship. And again, it's not going to be perfect, but get that general idea, that general shape, and then just play around with it. Take some time, play around with it. It's probably going to take you a while. Again, this took 2 hours to build. But if I could put together something like this in 2 hours and I'm happy with it, just imagine what you guys could make. So anyways, that's going to do it for me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.